All right. So we're super excited to have you tonight on this first ever Menopause Signature Series. And so this is a two-night series. I am Jana Bullard, and I am your MC, if you will. I am going to host a panel of experts and friends tonight, and I am so excited about that. So let me talk a little bit about my journey and why I thought this was so important. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I am almost 56 years old. I'll be 56 on Valentine's, and yes, I do have a lot of pink and red, but I also do wear blue and green. I just like bright colors. And I did start into that venture uh, almost 6 years ago. I was right at 50, and I'd watched some of my best friends, one of them is actually on tonight, suffer in misery for years. For years. Like sleeping naked because they can't have anything on because they're so hot and just hoping to goodness that their son doesn't walk in. And but it's unbearable. And I'm like, oh, and she's way conservative compared to me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I was in Colorado, and one of my other best friends, she was sticking her head out of the window in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. So here I was, younger than both of them, and dreading my life, like just absolutely dreading it. So fast forward, that time did come upon me right about 50 years old. And I know people in their 30s and I know people in their 60s. That age always is a variety. Mine was right at 50. And so I was very fortunate that I had access to something that really, really, really helped me. And so I have been 6 years hot flash free in menopause and all that good kind of jazz. And so I have been very fortunate that I wasn't the person that had struggled for 5 years, and my friends stopped the struggle as well. And but the reality is a lot of women, they don't have a clue what to do. What I've also learned over my almost 10 years of helping people, especially because my age demographic is going to bring middle-aged grandmother, late in life mothers, professional working women around my age, they're going to bring similar lifestyles. They're going to bring similar ages into my wellness aura, if you will. Through that, I found that it is a very common, like most every female that messaged, and I said, tell me a little bit what's going on. Like, what's the struggle? What are you looking to accomplish? The M word popped up. And what I know is that it's just not talked about enough. Back in the day, it used to kind of be like, I don't know, like you had leprosy or something. Like, you're going to get old and be this menopausal person or something. Well, it's not really like that. And you can love your body through that time. And so I reached out to these two wonderful friends, gosh, really several months ago, and said, we have to help these women. We absolutely have to help people. We have to help those people that want to use our products, but we have to help those people that don't. We just have to help women. And they said, yes, please, in the fastest manner that you ever could. And so that's a little bit about how we got here. And it's so much more than just night sweats and like thinking you'll lose your mind or like your body's just spontaneously combusting. There is so much more to that. And so we really want to have real talk. And one of the things that I've said as I am advertising this on my social media and talking about it, and one thing that's really important to myself and both of these incredible women that I'll tell you who you got tonight, is this is not a bait and switch. You are going to want your pen. You are going to want to write down. You are going to be excited. And you're also going to see yourself. And you're going to realize that we see you too. So I am beyond thrilled. I am going to warn you ahead of time. These are going to be 30 to 45-minute sections, these two nights. This is not a 15-minute infomercial. We have spent weeks planning to invest in your love of moving yourself forward. Okay. So again, this is going to be recorded so you can take notes, all that good kind of jazz. So first of all, I am going to turn this over to Lois, and I'm going to say just a few things about Lois. I call her a warrior for women. And that is every type of thing that that could mean. But she's got a real heart for the struggle. She's got just a God girl love for the capability of people to just live better. She really does. And she is a self proclaimed ingredient and research nerd. And y'all, she is. she, she will blow your socks off. So I am going to turn it over to her. And then I'm so excited for you to hear from Dr. Tani Martinez here in just a little bit. But just a round of applause for these women already. They are highly invested in this subject, and they are subject matter experts, but with a heart to help. So I have my pen as well, y'all. So Lois, it's all yours, girl. It's all yours.
Okay, well, here we go. Well, thank you all for tuning in. This is an extremely important topic. And as Jana said, my name is Lois Power, and I want to tell you why I'm a nerd about this, because people aren't talking about it. And when I started to go through menopause, it wrecked me. I didn't know what was going on in my body. I was surprised. I knew about hot flashes, but I didn't know much more than that. My mom had a hysterectomy when I was maybe 12 years old. So I really did not know that much about this. And what I do when I want to learn is I dig in and try to find resources. So who are we talking to tonight? We're talking to you. This is for any woman who has questions, who has some weird symptoms. You're not sure really whether you're losing your mind or if this is all in your head. You're not sure if you have a really serious illness that has this compilation of symptoms. You just don't know. Well, you know what? It could be menopause. And we're going to talk about that because with information is power. This is for you, and we want you to know you are not alone. 1/3 of the women in the world are in menopause right now. And there are over 71 separate symptoms of menopause. 40% of your life, you will be post menopause. So let that sink in for just a minute. For some people, they start having moodiness and depression and maybe anxiety, and they think, what is wrong with me? I'm going crazy. But it could be just a normal part of your life brought on by hormone fluctuations. So, the first thing I want to do is I want to explain what menopause is, and I want you to try to identify, if possible, what stage of menopause you may be in, because the symptoms can begin as early as your 30s. So perimenopause is for those who are typically in their 30s or early 40s. In perimenopause, you're still having periods, but your body's changing. You may feel more tired than usual. You may start to have these weird symptoms like, I haven't gained weight on the scale, but my clothes aren't fitting the same way. And when I look down, I notice I'm getting a little bit thicker around the middle. And y'all, this particular phase of menopause can last up to 10 years. Perimenopause can be up to 10 years before menopause. You're making less estrogen, and this is the biggest change that most people notice here is how and where we store fat are now being affected. It's being affected by both your metabolism and your appetite. And there was actually a study in 2017 that suggested that the more body fat you have, the more difficult menopause is going to be. So if you're in that category that you're like, I'm not quite there yet, I'm starting to see some changes, one of the recommendations that I have for you is go ahead and start getting your body healthier now. It will benefit you. The healthier you are, the earlier in your life, it will really benefit you, particularly when it comes to this issue of visceral fat. Now, we all have subcutaneous fat. That's the fat under our skin, maybe in our back, under, our arms. Subcutaneous fat, we all have it. We all have it. But there's a different type of fat called visceral fat. This is the fat that increases and it's around your organs, and it's a metabolically active fat because it's around those organs and therefore it causes health issues. Now, that visceral fat can increase what they call your waist to hip ratio. You may see it as WHR, but this is a widely used effective measurement to determine your increased risk for things like heart disease, breast cancer, uterine cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, stroke, sleep apnea, and other really troubling diseases. So, what we want you to hear tonight is there's two sides of this. On the first hand, we want to share this information and talk to you about some practical things that you can do so that you feel better. On the one hand, we want you to feel better, but on the other hand, there can be serious health implications if you don't manage menopause well. But y'all, we don't talk about it. It's been so taboo for so long. It's just something that people don't talk about. And we need to change that. We need this menopause movement of information, because when we're armed with better information and know-how, when we know better, we do better. Okay, so that's perimenopause. The next thing is menopause. Now, a lot of people just throw all of this into one category and call it menopause, but it really is different. So, in menopause, that's usually between age 45, 55. The average age for menopause is 51, but this is when your ovaries stop producing estrogen. You don't have a period for 12 consecutive months. That's the terminology around menopause. So if you're noticing maybe there's some changes, you're in that age group between 45 to 55, and you don't have a period for 12 months in a row. And listen, I have women that'll say, well, I didn't have a period for 10 months and then I started having it again. Well, then you're still in perimenopause. Menopause is defined by no period for 12 months. And then after that, then you are now post-menopausal. In the postmenopausal stage of life, again, no period for after 12 months. And here's the thing, once you reach postmenopause, if you're not intentional about your health, you have a 5 times higher risk of having that visceral fat we talked about that's metabolically active around your organs. It's the dangerous fat. You have a 5 times higher risk of having that than premenopausal women. So the women who haven't even hit perimenopause yet, your muscle mass begins to lower, and so your metabolism goes down. Your metabolism is tied to the amount of muscle you have in your body. The higher muscle count you have in your body, or the more of your body composition is made from muscle, the more metabolically active you are, the stronger you're going to be, the stronger your bones are going to be, and the less that all of this is actually going to affect you. So, what you may be hearing a little ding, 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 a little hint there: strength training, resistance training. Let me tell you right now, I don't care who you are on the other side of the screen, you need this. You need strength training. There was a lot of misinformation years ago. Women were going to get too big if they lifted weights, and they really didn't need that. You need it, and you need it desperately. And we'll talk a little bit more about why. But let me tell you this right now: osteoporosis is a situation that is very scary. You can lose up to 25% of your bone density. And that's because of the lack of estrogen. As your estrogen decreases, your bone strength and your bone density can decrease. 1 in 3 women have a risk of frailty in their lifetime. So, resistance training is key. Resistance training, not only does it strengthen the muscles, but it strengthens the bone. And that's something you can start today. So, that's a little tip for you. Well, let's talk about other risk factors in postmenopausal women. Cardiovascular disease. Did you know that the number one health risk for women is cardiovascular disease? Did you know that? When your estrogen is reducing, you're losing estrogen, not producing that anymore. It does not cause cardiovascular disease, but it does highly increase your risk, and partly because as your estrogen goes down, estrogen affects every single organ system in your body. Everyone, okay? Everyone. But what happens as your estrogen decreases, your blood pressure can go up, your LDL cholesterol and your triglycerides have a tendency to go up. And the American Heart Association says that 1 in 3 women will develop cardiovascular disease during menopause. So we want you to feel better, but we also want you to be healthier. Depression and other mental conditions go up postmenopausal in postmenopausal women. You can have really severe vaginal dryness. Thinning of that vaginal lining can cause painful intercourse, and even tearing is possible. An increase in the frequency of UTIs, vaginal infections, incontinence can start or worsen during that time. So, y'all, I want you to take this seriously. Not only do we have a higher incidence of obesity and inflammation, but heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and more. So we are going to dump lots of information in your hands over these next 2 nights. I hope you will listen and take it very seriously. And I hope that you will know that your life is not over. And the best part of your life is not behind you, because you are a person that is perimenopausal or during that menopause transition, or even like me, post-menopause. There is no way the best part of my life is behind me. There's so many reasons that this is the best part of my life, but I needed help, and that's what we're going to do, is we're going to bring help for you today as well. So Jana, I think it'd be a great time to hear Tawny's story, with that being said.
I think so as well. And so I had the opportunity, well, I've had the opportunity to know Tawny for years now. And I've just really respected her in her field and her knowledge of supplements and just all sorts of great research. And we had even shared some conversations before, gosh, probably even 2 years ago around this topic. And so I was beyond excited when she said yes, but I did not know her story around this. I knew a lot about her story with our company and like what she does for a living, her family and stuff like that, but I didn't know this and y'all, we are here for real talk and we're here for real solutions. So, Tawny, thank you so much for taking your time tonight, even though you didn't wear pink. We're going to allow it.
Thank you so much, Jana. And Lois, what a great introduction to what we're going to be talking about. I just appreciate you so much. And I met Lois and her husband at a conference, and their heart for helpers. They are servant leaders, and that's wonderful. And Jana has just adopted me as part of her team. She's always there for me, and I just have really loved our meetings. I know most people don't look forward to meetings, but the three of us planning has really been a blessing. So I just want you to know that tonight we want to hear from you too. And if something that we talk about tonight resonates with you, please drop it in the chat that, that's me, or I can totally relate. The other thing that I'll hope you'll do is, if there's something that Lois or Jana or myself talk about tonight and it piques another question in your mind, please put your question in the chat, because this is a two-part series and we want to hear you and we want to make sure we address what it is that you hope to get out of this. So tonight we are talking about kind of the Menopause 101 aspect. And then Thursday night, we're going to talk a lot about solutions. But tonight, I think it is really important that we have realized, as Lois said, that people don't even use the word menopause. You probably grew up hearing it said the change, or you didn't talk about having your period. It was Aunt Flo is here, or some crazy funny thing. And I am a professor at Kansas State, and I teach hundreds of college women every semester, and they aren't afraid to talk about, well, I have cramps or I'm on my period. And so we're a little behind them in some of the ways that we look at our bodies and the important changes that we go through. And at 42, I was feeling like Lois mentioned that my body betrayed me. Menopause came crashing in too soon. I'm 61 now, so it was almost 20 years ago. And it felt like it was stealing pieces of me that I just wasn't ready to lose. The hot flashes were relentless. Waves of heat that left me drenched and exhausted, like my body was raging against me. I would open up a freezer and get ice, or one time my daughter put a cold water bottle against my neck and steam came off. But the worst part, ladies, was the quiet disappearance of desire. The way my libido just faded into the background. I used to feel so vibrant and sexy and sensual and in tune with my body, but all of a sudden it felt like I was hollow, like a part of my identity was slipping away. And it really concerned me. I wasn't keeping up my part of our marriage. I know I wasn't satisfying my husband, and I was trying to convince myself that it was going to be okay, but it just felt like I wasn't myself anymore. And so I met a doctor who really listened to me. And it was a male doctor, and sometimes people do better with male or females, but to me, I just needed help. And he did not tell me to just push through. He saw me and he really assured me that I wasn't broken, that I was going to be okay. And so I started hormone replacement therapy. Now, we're going to talk about the stages of going through how we want to meet ourselves, where we are through these different steps to being vibrant and thriving in menopause. So I jumped up to step 3, and we'll talk more about that Thursday night. But when I started the HRT, and that's what hormone replacement therapy is, I used a compound cream right inside my thigh, and the fog began to lift. The hot flashes eased, my energy returned, and all after a year of just thinking I was losing my mind, I felt like I started to be myself again. But I started to do more research. I wanted to know, okay, what happened to me? And I started looking much more into the research, and I'll talk more about that research on Thursday night. But what I do want to say is that you can feel so empowered when you find your place on the staircase and what you need to do to thrive. But I do want to say that if after flashing forward for a few years on HRT, I started to get some cysts in one of my breasts. And I have a history of breast cancer in my family, and it probably was not because of the HRT. We don't know that that was the cause, but it scared me. It scared me enough to go looking for some different options. So I want you to know that there are steps and a sequence that you can go into, and it's okay to go from step to step and then maybe to go down a step, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I went to a nutritionist, and because I'm at a university, I was able to see a toxicologist. I went to a nurse practitioner. I went to a chiropractor, and I ended up using one of our products, several of our products, but the one that made the most difference in my life was Shine. And I started using acupuncture to open up kind of the energy channels of my body. So maybe some of this is resonating with you. And I don't wish hot flashes on my worst enemy. And that's probably one of the most common things that we talk about. But Lois is going to let us know that there are some symptoms that we don't talk about that maybe could be attributed to menopause. And when we know that, we can start seeking the solutions that we're going to be talking about on Thursday night. Lois, will you take us back?
Yes, thank you so much, Tawny. I love everything you said. I particularly hope that what y'all heard her say is that she started to feel empowered because she took her health into her own hands. She started researching. She went to professionals of all different types in the integrative medicine world as well as the medical community, and she found what was right for her. And now at 61, she's gorgeous, she's happy, and she's in a great place. And y'all, I'm telling you, you may not believe me right now, but this can be the best part of your life. So hang in there with us. And let me tell you a little bit about my story. It's similar, of course, but it's a little bit different. I started having really odd and profound symptoms. I did have hot flashes. I was gaining weight around my midsection, and I didn't understand what was happening. Yes, I knew about the hot flashes. That's the one thing we kind of do talk about because, ladies, it's hard to hide it when it's happening. It's hard. And I knew that my older sister, she would start pulling off her clothes and going, "Oh, I'm having my own personal summer." And that was, again, her key word because we really didn't talk so much about menopause a few years back. But what happened with me, and some of you know my story as well, I was sick for a lot of years, but at age 50, I determined I was going to get well. And I changed a lot of things. Foundationally, I changed my nutrition. I was taking great supplements. I was exercising. I was focusing on sleep and a lot of things. And in fact, I'll talk to you a little bit more about that here in a minute. But when I started having these weird symptoms, it frightened me. They were profound, and I thought this has got to be something's bad wrong with me. Something is wrong. I'm having all these symptoms for all these different systems in my body, and what could cause all these different systems in my body to be going haywire at one time? And I was scared. So I did what we're taught to do, and I went to the doctor and I took a lot of tests, blood tests and CT scans and MRIs. And I mean, I did the whole shebang. And guess what? They didn't even mention to me that this could be symptomatic of menopause. And now I don't blame the medical community, and here's why. You know that they only have one semester of nutrition for one, but three different medical doctors, and I've spent lots of time talking to these three and picking their brain about this, but three different medical doctors told me, and these are OB-GYNs, three specific OB-GYNs told me that they really are only trained in the reproductive years of women's health. And they really don't get training on how to care for women who are in the menopausal years, which is so strange to me since, as I mentioned earlier today, that a third of all women worldwide are in menopause. But that's changing, and you can help it change because what you're going to do is you're going to go to your doctor the next time you see your doctor armed with this information. They're going to listen, and you're going to get the information from that side of the equation that you need. But if you don't know what to ask, and if you don't have any ideas, you may panic like what I did. So here are some of the things that were going on with me: dry skin, joint pain, headache, bloating, and y'all, I could not sleep. I would lay down at night exhausted, but my brain would not turn off. And I'm like, is this anxiety? I don't know exactly what anxiety is, but is this it? Because I can't make my brain quit thinking. And the tighter I got, the worse it was. I had body aches, and I knew that my brain was changing. And I actually was worried at one point that I might be having the early signs of dementia. And I'm in my mid 50s. And it was scary because so many things were happening, that so many weird things that are also symptoms that can be associated with some dangerous illnesses. So what I want you to hear me say, in fact, let me just take a moment to say I have two board certified OB-GYNs that I've talked with, but also after several years of not sleeping and feeling like my body was just absolutely breaking down, I went to see a doctor named Mary Claire Haver, and some of you may follow her on Instagram. And honestly, y'all, she is exploded. She's all over the place right now. but I went to see her when she first started her women's health clinic in the Houston area. And she was just a wealth of information. And she listened to me and she validated the things that I was feeling. And she offered me solutions. So that's what we want to do for you. We want to tell you what we've learned. We want to tell you where to find solutions. We're going to provide some resources for you on Thursday. We're going to talk more in depth about a lot of things. But what I want you to hear me say is that I found someone who listened and who helped me and explained this process. And then, armed with that information, I was able to empower myself. Dr. Haver told me that in general, most women, about 15% have really an extreme experience with menopause. About 70% of women, they definitely have symptoms, but they have the symptoms and they kind of come and go. And then there's actually 15% of women, and you may be one of these, and great for you if you are. There's about 15% of women that are like, I'm in menopause, not that big of a deal. It doesn't last long. And so their experiences is on the easier side. Not that any of it is easy, but it's on the easier side. But I was that person in the 15% of extreme systems. So we're going to talk to you tonight about not only the well-known systems, but the lesser known systems. But I want to stop right here and I want to reiterate something that Dr. Tawny said earlier. You have now heard 3 stories: my story, Jana's story, and Dr. Tawny's story of our journey through menopause. Now we want to know what your experiences have been. Are you just kind of curious, but you really don't know anything about menopause? Have you suffered through some of these symptoms that we're talking about tonight, but without much information or support? Have you wondered if you're broken, if you're going crazy, and if the best years of your life are behind us or behind you? So what I want you to do, share with us in the chat. If you look at the bottom of your where you're in the Zoom app, if you look at the bottom, you can click on chat and you can tell us. We're going to be paying attention to these comments because we want to know what your experiences are. What are your questions? We want to know that. What questions do you have? Because remember, tomorrow night, we're going to be talking about specific solutions, and it will be beneficial to us to make sure that we can speak to the things that are happening for this particular group of women. And y'all, I just want you to write this down or remember it if you haven't listened to anything else I've said tonight or the other 2 wonderful women have said tonight. As estrogen decreases, it changes every organ in your body. So think about that. Think about that. It changes everything. Every organ is impacted to some degree in your body. Now, most people will experience the hot flashes. And so about 75% of women will experience this. So it stands to reason that you probably already heard about hot flashes. But did you know that these symptoms, I'm going to give you a very long list, can also be related to menopause? So here we go. Hot flashes are brief, and you get hot all of a sudden, like you're burning from the inside out, and then it pretty quickly goes away. You don't always sweat very much because it's very quick. Night sweats, on the other hand, I was mortified when I first started hearing my friends talk about this because they said, I have to get up and change my clothes because my nightshirt is completely soaked. And that's what I was expecting. And so I was so y'all, I want to say I was worried about it. I'm like, that's not cool. I don't want that to happen. And I didn't have night sweats, but I had a lot of these other symptoms. We talked about dry skin, y'all, anxiety. Even if you don't have anything to be anxious about, vaginal dryness, bladder problems, insomnia, which insomnia is defined as not being able to go to sleep, but also waking up through the night, where all of a sudden you got the sleep habits of an infant. You wake up every 2 hours, you got to pee all the time, you're hungry. All of these things can happen. So for me, my sleep was the most tragic. I knew that it was so unhealthy. Y'all, there is a reason that sleep deprivation is a form of torture. It's bad and it affects the night and also the morning. We've talked about low libido and sexual changes, mood shifts, frozen shoulder, brain fog, memory loss, hair loss, heart disease, weight gain, joint pain, GI changes, breast pain. How about heart palpitations? Some women have panic attacks, constipation and dizziness, ringing in the ears or tinnitus. That can be something, some people call that tinnitus. It depends on what area of the country you're in. Dry mouth, incontinence, which means you pee yourself, high blood pressure, dry eyes, migraines, and y'all, sexual desire. And I'm looking in the comments where y'all talking about that you definitely related to the things that Dr. Tani said. If there's enough interest, the three of us have been talking and we're like, we'll have another series just on the changes in sexual desire and what you can do about it, because there's a ton of great information, but we've got to find it and we've got to start talking about it. And just side note, it's not only us, men's hormones change as well. They can have a lot of these same symptoms. Their hormones change, which, a hormone is just basically a messenger in your body, but it can happen for them too. So we're going to share what you can do to reduce and improve these symptoms. And I've already mentioned one that you can start right now when we get off or tomorrow, and that's resistance training or strength training. Another thing you can do absolutely right now, draw your line in the sand and say, I'm going to do this, is start an anti-inflammatory way of eating, including putting a priority on protein and fiber, reduce refined and processed foods, restrict artificial colors and flavors, because all of these things, y'all, all of these things I just mentioned that we need to restrict, they disrupt the gut. And it's all tied together. We are a very complex person. Humans are very complex in their biology and the way everything talks to each other. But here's the best news for you tonight. Certain things that you do will help everything. Certain things that you can do will help everything. And it used to be that all women really cared about when they hit menopause was the weight gain. That's not the case anymore. As we age, we start to realize that, yes, we want to be fit and we can be. We don't want to have that visceral, dangerous, metabolically active fat in our midsection, and we don't have to. But what we start to realize is how we feel, how we show up for our family, how we're able to care for the people in our lives and chase dreams and dream new dreams and set goals and accomplish those things. All of that becomes even more important, I think, as we get older and we have more time. As you hit in your late 50s, maybe your 60s, maybe your 70s, you may have more time because you don't have children in the home. You may not be working full time. Y'all, this is an exciting time, but I do want you to hear me say, we know that it's hard. We know that it's hard without intervention, and we want to help you to have intervention. Now, Tani talked about this stair step, and I love that analogy that you use, because we're going to show you, step one may be that you do this set of things. Step two may be a little bit more entailed because you still are having issues after you've implemented step one. Maybe you need to go to step 3, 4, or 5. Now, for me, I did choose hormone replacement therapy. I am a self-proclaimed nerd. I dug into the World Health Institution. That was this big study in women's health. And some of the things, they stopped the study and started putting things out there that scared women and scared their physicians, their OB-GYNs. They've walked back basically all of that at this point. So the fear that was once there is not there anymore. So in talking with my doctor, I chose hormone replacement therapy. I went almost 5 years without a good night's sleep, and I was just floundering. So the hormone replacement therapy of estrogen and progesterone combined helped me to start sleeping. But y'all, it helped everything else. It helped my energy. It helped my skin. It helped really all of the things that I mentioned. My cholesterol went down. My triglycerides went down. So I hope what you're hearing us say is that we have solutions for you, and we want you to be excited about empowering yourself to love your body well through this normal change in life. And we want you to talk to other women about it. Don't isolate yourself. Don't be afraid. If you come from a family where this isn't something that you talk about, if you don't feel comfortable to talk with your family or other women, or you don't feel comfortable talking to your spouse if you have one, but talk to other women, because it is so helpful when we realize we are not alone. We will all go through this change, and it's a normal thing. We're going to talk in a lot more depth. We're about out of our time for tonight, and before we close, I want you to do whatever it takes to be with us Thursday night at 7. If you got any value at all out of the information we shared tonight, I want you to have some friends get on with you as well on Thursday. Y'all, nutrition is the most underutilized medication in the Western world, yet it is most effective. Nutrition, lifestyle, we can do so much with the knowledge that we now have, and we're going to share a lot of that and some great resources that are going to help you. So this topic is now open for discussion, and I want you to talk amongst yourselves. I don't want you to be afraid to talk about any of these things. I don't want you to be afraid to go and ask your doctor questions when you have your next appointment. And if they try to write you off because they don't know, then you go and look for another doctor, because there are plenty of doctors out there that do not want to do harm. That's their oath, right? Do no harm. There are plenty of doctors out there that take that seriously and can be a really great resource for you. So when you go for your next appointment, or you go for your next breast sonogram or your next pap smear, whatever it might be, take some of these questions that you might have, and don't be afraid to interview your doctor. Find out what they think about these things and if they're the right fit for you. So, y'all, we have just given you so much information tonight. I believe it's valuable. I hope it's valuable. You're not alone. We want to help. And Jana, I'm going to turn it over to you for closing. But before that, Tawny, would you just share just a little tiny bit about the science we're going to be discussing next on Thursday, 2 nights from now?
Sure. So these are topics that are sometimes new to us, and we're going to be talking about bioidenticals. We're going to be talking about how there are different stages and intensity of things that we can try. We also have compiled resources for you. The doctor that Lois talked about has an incredible social media community. We want you to be part of her community. We have studies, we have Facebook pages, we have YouTube videos, we have entire societies that do webinars that you can join. We've tried to do the hard lifting for you to empower you to learn as much as you can before your next appointment with a provider that can be of assistance. As we've looked through the chats, you guys, we are in this together. Isn't it gratifying just to know that you're not alone and there's somebody else that has walked this walk with you? And it is hard. We want to be great lovers. We want to be great women of destiny, but it is hard when we don't feel our best. And so, our job Thursday night, we've outlined all of the issues. And now, Thursday night, we're going to talk more about solutions and resources. So, we hope to see you then. Jana?
No, that is, my goodness. Looking at the chats, what I'm hearing is one, y'all are going, okay, I'm not crazy. It's not just me. Two, I have not felt heard before. And several people said, I wish I'd known this. So that's what we're here for. We really want to do all those things. So we'll see you back. It's the exact same link, y'all. Thursday night, 7 o'clock. This is recorded. I will get this out. I saw some of you writing, and then I know some people were at work. I was writing. We will get that out. I told Tawny and Lois that I was going to do a gift card. Like, we're kind of watching who else here, and then on Thursday, like, do a little, like, thanks for your participation. Like, y'all are being vulnerable in the chat, all this kind of stuff. I'm actually going to give away a product that we haven't even released yet that will help with some of this. So instead of a gift card, I'm actually going to give you a product, and you're going to be really glad that you had it. And so we'll see you back. Stay tuned for this. And I know that we had right at 90 people on here.
Wow.
And if 1/3 of the world is in this phase and you don't know and you're not talking about this, they're not either. Okay, so we will look at these notes. We're actually going to debrief together tomorrow morning, and we're going to take what we planned on talking about, and we're going to take intent and impact, and we're going to marry those together, and then come back. And we want to keep it to 45 minutes. We may not be able to get to all of it, but it does sound like people are also open to another series as well. So thank y'all so much. I will get this out. Thank you for your vulnerability, and let's all just love our bodies through this together. Bye, y'all.